Hey, if you're struggling to fit your top priorities into life, we've got a podcast going to help make that way, way easier for you. We have one skill we'll discuss and teach here that's going to help to make your entire life and making every healthy decision easier. So stick around to learn what that is.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we do get to chat and learn with our CFE coaches, occasionally talk with our CFE athletes here, and then every now and again, we talk with the Glen Ed community leader, business owner. I'm your co-host, Dallas Amston. So glad to have you all here today. With me, as always, the incomparable Coach G. Scale. How are you, brother?
I'm feeling pretty good today. Thank you for asking. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing okay. I've got a little bit of allergy garbage going on in my nose, but I feel fine.
That's awesome, man. It's a beautiful day, and let's make the most of it today.
Absolutely. So, G, we are talking about this idea. This is something that you've wanted to talk about for a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Learning to say no better so that you can say yes more often. Yeah. Tell me how this kind of came to seed in your mind, and then wax poetic about it.
Sure. So one of the benefits to doing what I do every day as a coach and getting to hang out with very fitness-minded, very motivated and driven people who are top performers in business and industry, top performers in health and fitness and life, is I get to study the common traits that the real winners have and the traits that people seem to struggle with if they are not as consistent.
Yeah.
And something that's kind of been on my mind lately is how the people that really do well with their health and their fitness, they have a skill. And I use the word skill very intentionally because it's something that can be honed and developed, and it is an ability you can build of saying no better and more often to lots and lots of good things so they can say yes to a few really great things.
Yeah.
It's another way of maybe describing the hallmark of being able to effectively prioritize the big rocks and the little rocks. This is an analogy that most people have heard before, but just in case you're new to it, like you have a glass and you want to put the big rocks, the most important priorities. The glass represents like your day, the time you have, limited resource, your most limited, most valuable resource. Like where do you put your time, your energy, your efforts? The big rocks are the things like your health, important time with the people that matter the most to you, the most rewarding activities that you do in your daily life. Putting the big rocks, the important priorities in that glass first, because if you put lots of little rocks in there, little rocks of watching a couple extra episodes of that TV show you're not really super into, but you started watching it, you don't want to finish it before it's over, or having the water cooler talk around the water cooler, which you're mostly just wasting time, and you're going to have to stay at work a little later to get your work done. So now you're like, this is going to eat up my workout time in the evening. Like those little decisions where like you either are filling up your glass with big rocks or little rocks. What it comes down to is building the skill of being able to say no, especially saying no to a lot of good things, which if you're a person who's like, our ideal CrossFitter is a person of relatively well means, well-educated, professional people, family people, you have a million opportunities every single day. There's a million things pulling at your attention, pulling at your time. You could go to hang out at the bonfire. You could go to the kids' sporting event. You could go to the gym. You could stay at home and chill and crash. Some million opportunities, right?
Yep.
A lot of good things. Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4-Hour Work Week, once said that you have to, in order to have any agenda of your own whatsoever, you have to be willing to let lots of little bad things happen all the time. Like there are going to be lots of little problems associated with saying no to things. Like you feel this pressure to go to the PTA meeting that you don't really need to be there, but you feel a pressure like I'm supposed to be there, I'm supposed to do this. So I say yes to the PTA meeting that doesn't really enrich my life.
Yeah.
But does definitely eliminate the possibility of me going to the gym. And now I have to get fast food in the evening because I have a very short time to get food together for the kids before everybody's got to be ready to get into bed and do it all over again tomorrow, right? Like it's a pattern. The most successful fitnessers, most successful people I know are all getting really, really good at being fairly merciless with saying no to things that don't really fit into their highest value priorities.
Sure.
And they have the balls to let a lot of little fires keep burning in order to be able to stoke the flames, proverbially speaking, of something really, really great in their lives. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. So really, I mean, it's a boundaries conversation.
It's a boundaries conversation.
You put boundaries around the things that aren't meaningful, but you know, we talked earlier about that Stephen Covey matrix. You've got urgent, important. You've got urgent. You know, you've got not urgent, important. Then you go down all the way to not urgent, not important. And what we find ourselves doing is we overcommit on the things that do not necessarily move the needle on our health. They don't move the needle on our relationships. They don't move the needle in our professional life. They don't move the needle for us spiritually either. And I had this same conversation actually earlier, G, with one of my clients. She was telling me that she was struggling with procrastination. And I said, well, let's talk it out a little bit. You know, let's go through that. And she realized that the things that were moving the needle on her business, she was procrastinating on them, but she was overcommitting on all of these other things with her church, with her social group.
Sure.
You know, all of those things. And so we went through and I said, what can you start to say no to? And I think that's a very scary place at first, if you're not used to saying no, if you're not used to the habit. So my thought would be that you say no to a small thing first.
Sure.
You set a boundary of like, instead of watching this show, I'm going to say no to the show and I'm going to say yes to a walk with my spouse.
Yes.
Like that doesn't affect anyone in your business. That doesn't affect your children. You know, and I think that's one of those things where we begin to set healthy boundaries. I mean, there are TV shows my wife and I want to watch, and we have been on season 5 of a particular show for a year and a half, and we just don't get to it often because other things take precedence constantly. And I'm not sure we'll ever finish it. We like it, but I'm not sure we'll ever finish the show because other things, we have to say yes to the better things. And usually for us right now, that's kids or health or things like that.
I think that especially for guys like us, it is very easy to say yes to the business, career, aspirations, professional side of things. A struggle that I personally have in this arena is having a defined end time for work where I'm no longer at work anymore.
Yeah.
You know, being a coach and entrepreneur where I'm primarily working with people outside of normal work hours, before 9 a.m., after 5 p.m. There's a constant pull to do those phone calls after 5 p.m.
It's these little guys. It's these little devices.
My phone is ringing. There are people that would like to have time and attention. And for me, the struggle, and it's something that I'm working through, something that I'm personally working on, is having that time period in the evening where it's like, okay, work is now done.
Yeah.
I'm not at work anymore. I'm instead going to be fully present with my wife and my son for this time window so I can then get to bed on time so I can get up tomorrow morning and do things that move the needle before other people are awake.
Yeah.
Because being the one morning person in my household is kind of a fight because Caroline and Zai are night people and they hit their stride around 6, 7 p.m. and then they're having a blast and we're all connecting with each other, having a fun time. And I don't want to be the person to stop the fun.
Right.
But I have to be the one that's willing to say, hey, we had a great time. We hung out for a bit. I do need to now draw the line in the sand and end the festivities for the evening so I can get to bed on time, so that Zai can get to bed on time, and so on.
And that's even a healthy relationship. And you're still choosing to say yes to other things that keep moving the needle for you. And so often we have to look, guys, at the things that we're saying yes to that are not necessarily healthy. If they don't serve who you want to become, then they don't need to be in your life. And that's a thing I regularly assess. I sat down with my wife just on Sunday and said, hey, I want to talk through a couple of things to you. I think I need to let go of A, B, and C. And she's like, and one of them, she goes, I've been waiting to hear you say that. And I said, it doesn't serve my future self. It doesn't serve who I want to become. And it doesn't serve my business. It doesn't serve my clients. It doesn't serve my kids. And it certainly doesn't serve my wife. And it's like, yeah, if I could learn to say no better to that overcommitment, to just that one thing that's like, man, that takes a few hours every week. If I could say no to that, then I gain that time back to compress all of the good things.
Right. And to double down on the good things.
Yeah, to double down on them, to really get acceleration with those. And I think, many of us activate well, but we don't, after the activation, we don't necessarily ever get acceleration. I remember there was this great quote, I'm forgetting who said it right now, but it was you don't lose momentum. You choose to give up your momentum.
Sure.
And I think sometimes we're like, oh, I hope I don't lose motivation on this. And it's like, no, you don't lose momentum. You don't lose motivation. You actually give that up and you start getting motivated towards something else.
The Pareto Principle, 80-20 principle, like 20% of inputs produce 80% of the outputs. There's probably only a few things that you're doing that generate the majority of the revenue in your professional life, a few things you do that produce the majority of enhanced relationship with key people in your life. Like those are things we should be doubling down on, all of us, and saying no to the 80% that is nice, but also slows down our greatness.
Right. It's the nice to have. It's not the gotta have.
So our challenge to the audience is like, what is one small thing, or what is one thing, a small decision you can make today? What's one thing you could say no to that would allow you to say yes in a greater way to something more important?
Love it.
Or to put it another way, what is something relatively unimportant you're still clinging to or giving your greatest gift, time, to? Maybe you should stop giving time to.
Yeah.
That's a question for the audience today.
Great
Post
question.
that in the comments below to tell us what you think.
Love that. Great question. Great challenge for everybody. We do challenge you to comment below. Shoot us a message as well. Or if you want, you can reach out to us. We're on all the socials. You guys know this already. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter at CrossFit Edwardsville. You can also, when you're ready, go to our website, CrossFitEdwardsville.com. You can throw it in the Google machine too and read hundreds of 5-star positive reviews. But when you are ready at CrossFitEdwardsville.com, you're just going to click on a button that says book a no sweat conversation. You'll have a conversation with G-Scale or one of the other team members, and you'll be able to then say, hey, here's what I want to say no to. Here's what I want to start saying yes to. And they can help you put in place an actionable plan to get the big rocks in the jar first so you don't keep filling your life with sand. So, G-Scale, thank you so much for today, man.
Thank you, Dallas. Thank you to our audience for tuning in, guys. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next episode.